Alright. So, I want to talk about God of War Ragnarok. I beat that game last week, and I want to talk about it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. Please and thank you. Stick around to the end. The graphics, first and foremost, were beautiful in this game. Just amazing how polished and atmospheric they made it.
Back before winter set in,
beyond the graphics, the combat shined. The combat was very engaging, and there was a lot of ways that you could go about the battles.
And your boy, all father has planned.
The combat also had some things that bothered me a little bit, which had to do with the elemental enemies and the requirements that you had to do certain things to certain enemies, and then they would throw multiple enemies that you had to do certain things to at once in a more of an arena styled battle, where some of the games that I played in the past were a little more open world while you were fighting, so you had more of the ability to kind of draw and aggro people at your leisure, where this game was more of a put you in arena and then you battle in the arena, and some of the fights were a little too congested for my liking, where it just felt like I didn't have enough space to kind of maneuver and use the environment to my advantage. And then also the fact that you had to do specific attacks in order to open up some of the people, and then use specific weapons in order to open up some of the people's defenses, where it just became really difficult to manage various enemies and various weapons that you have at your disposal. So I just found myself using all of the weapons and all of the types of attacks that you can do in order to get some of these people's defenses broken down, and then it just felt like I was pressing every single button on the whole controller a lot of times, and then I was also restricted by the linearity, or not even the linearity, just the small environment that you're fighting in. It felt a bit claustrophobic and a bit really pressurized, and it caused a little bit of frustration. It wasn't anything that I couldn't like get through or handle with time. It's just something that I noticed, and it got frustrating just to kind of see, oh well, this guy, you got to do this one with him, but the other guy's a brute and you got to break him down this way, but the other guy's attacking you with this way, and then you can't defend because you have your other weapon out, so you have to slide, try to get some space in a small environment, and then get over and switch back to your spear, or switch back to your fire blades, or switch back to the ice hammer. Like it's just got to be really intense in certain aspects, and it felt like it wasn't really necessary. But the combat was very polished, very well done. There was a variety of enemy design, which sometimes, like I'd say, worked to the downfall of it, where it's like there's kind of too many, really, that they throw at you all at once. But the story was phenomenal. So the graphics, the combat, and then the story was just ridiculous. Like, I really enjoyed the journey that it went on, and I will remember it. The first God of War was like my favorite PS4 game, and I platinumed. That's the only game that I've ever platinumed, and that game was simple and deep in the aspect that you could get, when you went for the Valkyries, you could get more in depth in the combat and break it down and really get into it. And this game took a lot of that stuff and added more and more, and sometimes it felt a little too much for my taste, where the first one is more simple. This one they added on to that stuff and made the skill tree, not the skill tree, but the amulets and the things that he could get a little too deep for my taste, where it's like there's too much stuff that he's unlocking and too many resources and things that you need to do certain things where it just became kind of a lot to manage when you open up that menu. And it's the same thing with like Spider-Man 2, like I'll talk about that in a video coming up, where you open up the thing and there's like 10 sub-menus and you got 2 pause menus, and it just felt like a lot, and it felt like I realized now that I kind of like a more simpler take on those types of things. So I actually kind of neglected some of the things until almost the final boss, where I started realizing like, okay, well, I'll just upgrade all these things that I have been neglecting, and then I'll go into this final battle, and hopefully it really helps me out. And it did. It was cool. But yeah, the Atreus dynamic with Kratos, he was getting a lot more independence throughout the story, and it did kind of the same thing that it did in the first game, where it was like, oh man, this kid's annoying, like he's kind of irritating, and then he matured, and then they closed off the drama and moved on, and then ended up teaming up with some of the prior enemies that they had, some of the prior villains, and then it really was a heartwarming adventure, and I did enjoy the game a lot. There was just some minor things that kind of got me a little angry, where there was a lot of difficulty spikes that I noticed, where it's like if you were going to go through and just try to 100% everything as it comes up, like you're going to have to end up going back to certain areas, certain tears, realm tears and things, and fight certain side bosses later on as you level up, because it's like those things were like 2 or 3 levels higher than me at some points, and it was like, okay, I'll just basically get one hit by this guy, and he was just so fast. It's like, well, alright, I guess I'll go back to this later. But it just seems like if you wanted the choice, it kind of should, I think, maybe scale with you, I guess, but then people would just wreck them in the beginning. So I get it. It's just something that I noticed. It was like, well, I would have preferred to kind of have a continuity and like
Walk away.
a smoothness and a transition that didn't feel so jarring, where it's like I go to fight and this guy, well, maybe it could have told me, hey, you're a little under leveled for this, like maybe come back later after you get some more gear and stuff, because it just seemed like I would do whoop and then boom, just get wrecked, and it's like, well, I guess I shouldn't be in this spot right now. But the another thing I would do want to talk about is the dynamic when Atreus gets to Asgard. The dynamic between Odin, Thor, and his kids and wife, or his daughter and wife, and how it kind of gets deep into like just relationship themes, where it was like, he drank a lot and then kind of had a falling out with his daughter, and then his wife was probably going to leave him if he kept drinking, and he promised to stop, and then he got like completely shit-faced, and then it was like this whole thing, and it was really kind of cool to see like them kind of tackle an alcohol aspect in this game, where I didn't expect it, and it didn't seem like super forced. It just seemed kind of like a natural thing in this game, and it really kind of showed up, and it was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. I actually dig this, and I felt like it wasn't just thrown in there to try to like spread a message. So I thought that was cool. One of the boss battles overall were really engaging. There's a little trope that they continue to do in a lot of video games, where they give these bosses health bars, and then there's just like 6 phases to them, where it's like, so why did you even give them a health bar at all? Like, why don't you just, if it's just gonna play out like a movie anyways, you might as well just not even give them a health bar, or get like, just, I take it all away and then it just comes right back in another phase, and it's like, I don't enjoy that. It irritates me because it's pointless to even have a health bar at that point. Why? Maybe I'll just do some damage, and then eventually it'll kick into another thing. Like, it just shouldn't even be there, because it doesn't make sense anyways. If he has a health bar and you take it all away, and then it just comes right back, what is the point of even putting it there? Like, really? Maybe they could do things where they lose their armor as they get hit, and then you can kind of symbolize, it can be experienced through the gameplay, instead of having a bar at the top and then it going all the way away and then it just coming right back again. It's like, well, that's frustrating and really dumb because it's like you give me a goal and then I beat the goal and then all of a sudden it's back there again. It's like I don't dig it. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. But one of the best boss battles with Loki and his like girlfriend. You got to fight his grandma, her grandma, and it's just like a battle with a giant granny in her house. It's weird and it seems out of place, and it didn't seem like to go with the story where it's like you're just fighting some old lady, like a giant old lady. I don't know, it felt weird. It didn't feel like a full-on battle. It felt like a mini game, and it just didn't really make any sense to me. Like, I don't know, you just end up running away at the end anyways. Like, you destroy her pot. I don't know, I thought it was kind of dumb. But yeah, the side missions in this game genuinely felt like they were a part of the story, so I find myself doing like everything because it just felt like they were getting so much like lore and so much like content and talking dialogue between the two people. It just felt like it was supposed to be done and not as a side mission. And their rewards were amazing because there were so many chests and so many resources that you could find to like upgrade your stuff, and then you get unique armor for completing side missions. Like, the game is beautiful and amazing, and it's one of my favorite PS5 games. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.